Hello,
Hello, Chris.
everyone, and welcome. We are thrilled to have you all here for this dedicated info session for the Brown Global Summer Program, London, Reading and Writing Its Past, Present, and Future. We are so excited to chat with you all today. This will be a deep dive into this program. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So, as I mentioned, this is one of our suite of four Brown Global Summer programs that we're offering for summer 2025. These are faculty-led, short-term study abroad programs that are being delivered during the summer session. They give you an opportunity to earn one Brown credit while having this incredible in-country experience. And today's all about London, so we're excited to go ahead and get started there. So I'm delighted to be joined, of course, by the folks who have put together this incredible program for you. We are joined here today by Ravit Reichman and Jonathan Reddy of the English department. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Ravit, go ahead.
Of course. Hi, my name is Ravit Reichman. I am a I want to say a 21st year student. I've been around for 21 years in the English department, where my research has focused on literature between the two world wars, particularly in England and in London. So I'm especially excited to be teaching this summer.
Wonderful. And I'm John Reddy. I'm the associate director of the nonfiction writing program. So Ravit sort of represents the literature side of the English department, and I represent the nonfiction writing program side. And we teach journalism, creative nonfiction, and academic writing. And I think one of the things that's extremely exciting about the program is we do both. You'll write, as we'll talk further, a literary criticism paper, but you also write a piece of creative nonfiction, and we're going to study both kinds of writing. I'm in my 15th year at Brown, and we're also joined by Mina, who is our amazing teaching assistant. Mina, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. My name is Meena Venkataraman. I'm a second year student in the English PhD department, or in the English department. I'm a second year PhD student, and my research actually focuses on Black and Asian Britain and Afro-Asian connections. I'm also British American. I have a dual passport, and I've spent a lot of time there in the past few years, as well as being born in East London. So I'm excited to introduce you to, I guess, my birthplace and my favorite city, and along with John and Ravi.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to all of you for being here. My name is Chris Van Boven. I'm an assistant director of global programs. In my role, I'm going to be helping to guide you every step of the way through the program admissions process. I'll be your sort of main point of contact for any and all questions you might have, logistical and otherwise. So I'm very excited to work with you moving forward. A bit about what you can expect from the presentation today. We're going to go over the key features and dates for this program. We'll talk about the program locations where the program is going to be delivered. You'll hear about academics. We'll talk about the housing and the meals that'll be provided during the in-country portion of the program. From there, we'll do kind of a close review of the costs associated with participating in this program. And again, by the end of this, our hope is that we will have convinced you that this is 100% the way that you want to spend your summer, and we'll guide you through the concrete next steps that you need to take to finalize your application. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Ravit and John to tell us all about this program. So take it away.
Okay, and thanks again so much to everyone for attending. And I should mention, before Ravit and I started this program this year, I led kind of a version of this through the University of Virginia, where I went undergrad, where I also went for my PhD, and we did it for 16 years together. And so I think the things you're about to hear are culled from lots of experience over 16 years of running a program similar to this. I also took part in a program through the University of Virginia in 1996 that was almost exactly this, and I said to myself, it'd be so exciting to bring students back to Regents University, the very university where I was in 1996, and that's what we're going to do. So as Chris has mentioned here in the overview, we're going to explore London. We're going to talk about the literature, the culture, the art, and the history, as the bullet points here say. We talk about its past, present, and future, essentially from Londinium, the earliest Roman settlements, all the way up to present-day London, You know, London used to be known as Rule Britannia. I think nowadays the slogan is Cool Britannia. It's become sort of the capital of London, you know, is sort of the world capital, I would claim, of fashion, art, culture. And as Mina said, I think it's the greatest city in the world, and we're biased, but we really believe that, having seen many cities. So we'll talk about, you know, key artistic, cultural, and historical institutions. We'll visit most of them. You're going to have classes in the morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We'll have lunch in the refectory of Regent's University, and then we're going to go out for an adventure almost every single afternoon, and usually adventures almost every single night. And it's just an incredibly, you know, joyfully packed 3 weeks. And as it mentions here, we're also going to engage with a lot of local London-based lecturers who we know on topics from everything from theater history, art history, you know, museum history, but also things like, you know, architecture. And we're even going to take a tour of the House of Parliament guided by a member of the House of Lords. And that's a pretty exciting experience that I will cherish forever. And we're excited to be lining that up for this summer. So as mentioned here, the course dates all told are June 16th through August 1st. But as Ravit will talk about in more detail on the next slide, we have 2 weeks of sort of preparatory coursework, then 3 weeks in country, and then 2 weeks to write papers afterwards. So I'll turn it over to Ravit on the next slide.
Hi, everyone. So the way that this class is organized is really that we want you to spend the time in London really immersing yourself, experiencing London, and really seeing it through the eyes of the literature that we're reading. So these first 2 weeks of the class will be focused on reading the novels. So you'll be reading novels and plays, and so you will be reading Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, Virginia Woolf, Zadie Smith, and we'll do all of that reading before London. Those will be asynchronous online discussions, and so you'll get to know each other digitally before you actually meet face to face in person in London. While we're in London in this in-person, the in-person 3 week section of the program, we will have discussions of the books. We will have the equivalent of sort of, you know, seminars, but by then you'll have done the reading. So the idea is not to go to London and sequester yourself in your dorm room or in the library at Regent's University and do that reading. The idea is to really liberate you to have the experience with each other and in the country, and to really absorb that experience so that it informs the writing that you'll do when you return from London. And at that point, you'll be writing your post-travel coursework. So you'll be writing 2 papers. I'll say a little bit more about that in a bit later, but you'll be writing 2 papers and a journal. And you'll be working on the journal in London, but again, that's really designed to allow you to reflect on your experiences, and to not just reflect, but articulate in writing to sharpen your own prose, but in a way that really attaches to the experience that you're having there. So next slide, please. Again, yeah, so this is the pre-travel coursework, and you'll see some of the sort of the greatest hits, right, from Shakespeare, like I said, Dickens's Bleak House, which is all of these are really some of our favorite works of literature. Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, which really almost kind of maps London in a novel. So we'll be able to visit so many of the locations that crop up in the novel that are so, and in a sense, London is one of the characters of Mrs. Dalloway itself. And the same with Zadie Smith's The Embassy of Cambodia. So all of these works will touch on or immerse themselves in London and give you an opportunity to see the city through the eyes of these writers. So again, the pre-travel coursework will involve reading these works and a few others, discussing them online, and doing some background readings about London as well, so that you really hit the ground running once we all arrive in London. Okay, next slide. All right, this is over to you, John.
Thank you. And so the in-country program lasts from Monday, June 30th till Friday, July 18th. As it says here in the bullet points, and I'll go more granular about this in a second, We go to plays and musicals every week. We have walking tours across virtually every part of London. We do retrace the steps of Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, among many others, greatest hits. And as I said, we have a tour of Parliament with a member of Parliament. But just to give you sort of a snapshot, we have sort of three clubs every Monday. We call it the Drama Club. So every Monday night we go to a musical or a drama, a play of your choice. Ravit and I, just did a site visit of London, and we're able to sample a couple of the things we're going to see this summer. And goodness me, I mean, as you probably know, the West End has twice as many shows as Broadway, and it's about half the price, and it's just a feast for the soul. So that's Mondays. Every Wednesdays we do a literary walking tour club. So we do tours of everything from Bloomsbury, where Virginia Woolf lived, to our little area of London, which is Regent's Park and Primrose Hill, which is a magical area in the northwest of London, to places like Chelsea, where everybody from Bram Stoker to Robert Browning to Henry James lived. And it's just such a joy. Those are sort of fun optional things to happen on Monday, Wednesday, and then on Friday we do an outing club, which we go on a day trip most Fridays and also many Saturdays and Sundays, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But for the curricular part, as I mentioned, week one, as with every week, we'll have class from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We'll have lunch at the university, which is right in the middle of the park of Regent's Park, and then we go on trips out into the city in the afternoon. So I keep a little backpack. We go out for a lot of the afternoon and the evening, and we keep our stuff with us, and it's just a joy. Week one, we go to places like St. Paul's Cathedral, the Globe Theater, which is pictured here, and that's where we'll see a production of Midsummer Night's Dream. And then on the first Friday, we go to Cambridge. We'll talk more about that. And then week two, we essentially drill down into Mrs. Dalloway, and several books and movies as well that we're going to see. A series of movies called 7 Up that follows a series of Londoners every 7 years of their lives, from birth all the way to, I think they're in their mid-60s now. It shows the different decades of London. We go to places, like the Tate Britain, the Tate Modern. We go to the Cabinet War Rooms, which is where Churchill sort of ran the British war effort during World War II in the Blitz. It's an underground bunker right beneath Whitehall, the area of government. And then sort of week three, we go to the Parliament visit. We talk about Zadie Smith's The Embassy of Cambodia. We also talk about a great book called Salam Brick Lane about the east of London. And, what's exciting to us about the program is we are always amenable to what are most interesting to our students. So all of those things have plenty of flexibility built in so that we can sort of cater it to what each of our groups wants to do. So maybe the next slide, and we could talk a bit further about the place. Oh my goodness. I get so excited when I talk about Regent's Park. So many of you may know Regent's Park is sort of the biggest park in the middle of the city of London. And, it's essentially such a big park. I call it the Central Park of London, that it contains the entire London Zoo. It also contains the entire U.S. ambassador's residence. If you've ever seen the Netflix show The Diplomat, even though it's filmed in a different place, that's actually where The Diplomat, the TV show, takes place, is inside Regent's Park. There's only two homes inside Regent's Park. One you see here is called St. John's Lodge, and right to the left of it on this map, sort of off the map, is the U.S. ambassador's residence. So within this amazing park with acres upon acres of athletic fields for cricket, for soccer, or football, as it's known, there's the ambassador's residence, there's the other St. John's Lodge, and then there's the London Zoo, and then there's us. So in the middle of this picture, I call it Hogwarts. It's pretty amazing that we get to live in this Regent's University, the only university that I've ever known that's inside a park, inside the biggest city in England and one of the best cities in the world. So we wake up, we have our classes here in the college. You stay in the dorms in the college. We have the refectory, the dining hall there. We watch movies in this amazing full theater seating theater there. And then you walk outside and you're in this gorgeous park. I go walking or running pretty much every morning in the park. I hope you will too. It's such a magical place. And then before you know it, you walk outside the gates of Regent's, and you're right on Baker Street, which is where the fictional address of Sherlock Holmes is, 221B Baker Street. We're right by the Baker Street tube stop. So it's just an incredible paradise of a place to get to live. And I think you'll love it as much as we do. So we wanted to show you how cool it is inside the park. So next slide, please. And Ravit, maybe I'll have you chime in on some of the option activities shown here, and then I'll chime in too. But there's a ton here.
Absolutely. I could start certainly. So for whether you're a sports fan or not a sports fan, you may have heard of Wimbledon. I'm someone who doesn't totally know all the rules of tennis, but I can tell you that ha- getting a seat in Wimbledon, and one can actually do that fairly cheaply, believe it or not, is really an experience to remember. So we will be there while Wimbledon is while the tennis tournament is being played, and we'll be able to go and take in uh, some of this, some of the games. We'll also enjoy going to a bunch of theater, and again, that's something that can be done at a fairly low cost, whether it's getting standing seats or getting there are always cheap seats in London, and believe it or not, theater in London is a good deal cheaper than going to Broadway. And there's so many plays in the West End in London, musicals, plays, and just the deep pleasures of theater. So yeah, and I'll let John and maybe Mina would like to talk about Brick Lane because I feel like that's also part of your world too.
Oh yeah, Mina, why don't you talk first about the joys of Brick Lane, and then I'll talk about soccer.
Yeah, for sure. So, Brick Lane is a very large Bangladeshi community in the east of London. And it actually, interestingly, used to be a Jewish community, an Ashkenazi Jewish community, because after the pogroms in the late 1900s, many Jews came from Eastern Europe. But then after partition of South Asia, a lot of Bangladeshi started moving in. So it became a primarily Bangladeshi area. It's really great because Brick Lane, it's now kind of a tourist destination, but there's so many Bangladeshi curry houses, and the tradition is that tourists would come and kind of haggle. There's always men who stand outside each curry house, and the kind of you're supposed to kind of haggle, so they'll invite you in for a meal, and then you can say like, "I'll do it if you give me free drinks or free poppadoms." So, or you can just go in and eat. And so there used to be so many more curry houses than there are now on Brick Lane, but it's still kind of a fun opportunity, and just, walking around and looking at the Bengali street signs. And so it's really great. And Tower Hamlets, that area has a ton of Bangladeshi a presence and a Muslim presence as well. So yeah, I've spent some time there. I'm writing an article on it right now. So it'll be really fun. And the East End is a great place to be.
Absolutely. And we will traverse all the parts of London. That's the East End. The West End tends to be the theater district, and also the seat of government. So you'll see the Royal Court Theater on here. Well, in addition to musicals, as an option, plays that are part of the curriculum of the course each week, starting with the Globe Theater with Midsummer Night's Dream in the first week after we've read it as a class. But, there's more new theater put on in London than almost anywhere in the world. And so places like the Royal Court are committed to new playwrights and sort of cutting edge theater. So very excited to take you to places like the Royal Court, also the National Theater here on the picture, right by the world's #1 most visited tourist site, which is the London Eye, interestingly. We can do that too. It's an amazing British Airways bubble in the sky. But the National Theater is really the Kennedy Center or the Lincoln Center of England, and it's just astonishing, like 6 theaters within this one, complex. And as Ravit, and Mina said, we'll take you to Brick Lane, we'll take you to Wimbledon. We will also take you on a tour if you're interested of a soccer stadium. I'm a huge football fan, and involved as a liaison to Brown Athletics here, and so it's a chance for us to see the UK sporting scene, which is unique and wonderful. And not to mention, we will, bottom right of the screen, we will walk to the top of St. Paul's, which is like 500 steps, I think, and it's the most magical view of London. Then we'll walk across this beautiful Millennium Bridge that you see in the picture, and we'll go over to the Tate Modern Museum, which is one of the foremost modern art museums in the world. So really are trying to show you all the parts of any kind of thing that hopefully any of you would be interested in. And this was the very best thing I did as an undergraduate, and we want that to be the same for you. So we're trying hard to show you every facet of the history, culture, and literature of London. So maybe next slide, if we could, please. Last but not least, day trips. The three of us, Mina went to Cambridge for graduate school. I went to Cambridge for graduate school. Ravit went to Oxford for graduate school. We are big fans of the UK, who got sparked in our interest as undergrads, like we hope you would. And then I always sort of said I would come back someday for graduate school. So we will take you to, Cambridge on the first weekend, Oxford on the second weekend, Bath on the second weekend, and Wimbledon on the first weekend. So it really is sort of a greatest hits of the fun, day trips, not just the greatest hits of London, but we're trying to kind of deliver the greatest hits of England. And we think these are some of the best. We hope that you'll agree. So maybe next slide, please. All right, Ravit, you want to speak to the travel coursework after?
Yes, indeed. So when you return from London, that's when you'll have 2 weeks to do the writing for the course. So this is the course assignments are 2 papers. One is a literary criticism paper, something that you would write in a literature class at Brown, and that's a 10-page paper. And then the other is a creative nonfiction paper, the kind of paper that you would write in the English nonfiction courses, that allows you to combine your personal experience with literature, with some of your reading. And we will be available every step of the way to support you, to think with you, to give you feedback on your ideas. And so you'll be writing 2 10-page papers that really bring to bear your own experience from the places we visited, the lectures, and we will hear some lectures from guest scholars and lecturers who will come and visit with us in London, so you can take in what they're saying, and of course the reading and the sightseeing. And just the experiences that you're doing, everything from, again, the art you might see, the theater you might experience, the food you're eating, and just the things that come into your viewfinder as you're walking around and really soaking up London. So you'll be submitting those two papers along with your London journal. So you're going to be writing every day, as we said in London, but that's really free form, and that's really about bringing language to bear on the experiences that you're having there. Next slide. Okay, so this is the course assessment breaks down into these 4 categories. So your attendance and participation, that's really showing up and doing the work and making your voice heard in these online discussions, and of course your being there in London, which we all will be. So that's 1/4, or one of the 4 components. Your 2 papers, your 2 10-page papers, the journal that you'll be keeping, and the kinds of the homework, as in the reading, the occasional. We may occasionally ask you to do some free writing, or any kind of informal writing that we would only assign, again, not as a hurdle to clear, but as something that we see as productive, as a productive way to really tap into and deepen and enhance the experience that you are having. Next slide. John, over to you. You can talk about the housing.
And also, just to chime in on what Ravit said, the course it's a 1762S in the ENGL courses of the English department. So it's a 1,000-level English course. If you're an English concentrator, it would fulfill one of your English concentration requirements, but it would fulfill any graduation requirement for any student who wanted to take it. It would also fulfill their writing requirement if you're interested in that. Because as Ravit said, the journal, those things, it's more about you want a keepsake for the rest of your life of this sort of once in a lifetime adventure. I still have my journal from when I was in this similar program in 1996. I've had students, over the 16 years self-publish and give me their journals. They're prized possessions that I think you'll always be grateful for. And one of the reasons I think that people love the program as much as they have in the past is that it's an incredible place to live, and it's an incredibly tight-knit group of students that comes. It's such a family. I'm still in touch. I've been to the weddings of students who were on this program years ago, that participated, and it has to do with where we live. As I said, it's in the middle of the biggest park in the city of London, Regent's Park. But as the sort of photo shows here, Regent's University London, it's a beautiful place. incredibly well, sort of manicured, the kind of place that I always think of is when I think of Oxford and Cambridge, it looks like that. It is just gorgeous, manicured lawns. The gardeners get up in Regent's Park at 5 a.m. and they beautify the park before we get up in the morning. You'll be in double occupancy rooms. We always say the good news is that we only accept amazing people in the London program, so you'll only have an amazing roommate no matter what. And it's a way to make a friend in the program. We have shared bathroom on the hallways. There are some other, sort of U.S. universities over the years that have used the program facilities. They're usually at different times. Sometimes they might be in an adjacent sort of, floor or something. But Miami of Ohio, Oklahoma State, it's kind of fun to see other Americans abroad. But you're going to meet a ton of British folks who live and work in regions. And as I said, it's just a gorgeous park. And in the middle of the park is this absolutely beautiful place. It's where we live. It's where we eat. It's where we have our classes. It's got a movie theater. It's got a sports bar. It's amazing. So next slide, please. And I'll just say a little bit, and then I'm going to turn this back over to Chris, and Chris is going to talk more about costs and sort of the parameters of what's covered and what extra money you might need as well. I'll just say that the dining card, I often would do this, and I would coach the students to do the same, that you can get sort of breakfasty things to have in your rooms during the morning. Place like called Tesco, that's like a convenience mart in London. I usually get, breakfasty things. We don't start class till 10 a.m., very civilized. And so I usually would have breakfast in my room. Then I would, eat every lunch in the college right after our class. And I would eat most dinners back at the college too, but sometimes you're out in the city and it's a little hard to get back on the tube. And so sometimes I would eat occasionally, pretty cheaply out in London. And I was able to make the dining meal card last the entire, 3 weeks of the program. And in fact, I usually was able to have extra money left over to buy some Cadbury chocolate bars for my children and my family and friends, which you could do as well if you like. So Chris, why don't I pass it over to you and you could talk about the costs.
Fantastic. Wow, what a program. So excited for you all and very jealous. Yes, we want to be really clear and transparent about the program costs. We want to break down exactly the sort of the component fees that make up the total cost of attendance. And so we want to break things down into the fees that you'll be paying to Brown University, and then the expenses that you'll be paying out of pocket. So I want to start with breaking this right down. So we've got the fees paid to Brown University on one hand, which include the summer session tuition fee and the global housing meal and activity fee. I'll talk in more detail about what these fees are in a minute, but I just want to highlight straight out of the gates that these are the fees for which Brown students may be eligible for financial aid support, so institutional aid from the Office of Financial Aid, if you receive financial aid during the academic year. We'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. I also want to highlight here, though, the expenses that you'll be expected to pay out of pocket. These are expenses you'll be personally responsible for, the most important of which will be your airfare. So the round trip flight from wherever you happen to be spending your summer to London and back again. As we've shared, some proportion of the meals in country. If you need to, renew or get a passport and any potential visa fees, those will be your responsibility. Books and course materials, though, as I have the asterisks here, the BCMS program, if you receive university scholarship, may provide support for your books and course materials. International cell phone service. So this is something that we require all students to have, which is the ability to make and receive phone calls in country as a safety and security measure. Spending money to support, your souvenirs, any sort of additional kinds of spending you might want to do outside of the context of the structured program. And I've also highlighted here, and I'll talk about this in greater depth in a later slide, but just that these are expenses that we encourage you to pursue external scholarships to support. We'll provide some links on a later slide. And as well, you can consider taking out loans to support some of these expenses. A bit more in detail on the fees that you'll be paying to Brown University. So these include the summer session tuition fee, and this fee pays for 1 credit of Brown tuition. It's the same across all 4 of the Brown Global Summer programs, and it's the amount that you see here. And then there is, in addition, the Global Housing Meal and Activity fee, which exactly as it sounds, is designed to cover your housing in country, the activities that form part of the program, and the meals that are provided as part of the program. This fee varies by program, and for the London program is $4,900. Again, for those who receive financial aid during the academic year, you may be eligible for a summer grant that can provide anywhere from partial to full remission of these fees paid to Brown. So again, some or all of the summer session tuition fee and potentially some proportion of the global housing meal and activity fee. We've worked really closely with the Office of Financial Aid to try to coordinate with them to make sure that as we communicate our admissions decisions to you all, that the Office of Financial Aid will be contacting you all individually to provide detailed information about the funding that you are eligible for. And they'll be providing that in late February, early March, well in advance of the commitment deadlines that we have for you all to commit to the program. The idea being here that we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need about finances to make an informed decision about your ability to participate in the program. A bit more on the out-of-pocket expenses. So just as an illustration here, we've used Boston just as a placeholder, but again, you'd be traveling from wherever you happen to be. An estimate currently, the average is around $900 for a round trip flight from the New England area to London. We've estimated with roughly $15 per meal in terms of out-of-pocket, a budget of around $600 for the duration of the program would be a good conservative estimate. Books hovering around $100. International cell phone service. So this will vary based on the carriers, but looking at the major carriers, this ranges anywhere from $35 to $100. When we get sort of further into the weeds of the pre-departure process, we'll be happy to guide you through and help you to find a plan that makes the most sense for you. And then for miscellaneous and sort of spending money, we recommend having around $250. So external scholarships. So there are a number of external scholarship opportunities available. We've outlined a couple of them here. And you'll find links to each of these on our program website as well. We urge you to put your names in as many hats that you are eligible for. You'll see that actually some of these scholarship opportunities have deadlines that are right around the corner, most especially the Fund for Education Abroad. So we urge you to apply for these prospectively. And again, put your names in as many hats as possible. These are able to support either your fees paid to Brown or your out-of-pocket expenses. We will be publishing sort of detailed out-of-pocket expense budget sheets to the individual program websites to help you to kind of start that planning process now to outline, the expenses you can expect to pay. And then from the Office of Financial Aid, we've received the guidance that they suggest that you make sure that you have all your required documentation submitted for the 2025-2026 academic year in order for your summer grants to post to your account. And the last note here on finances is that the Office of Financial Aid wanted to advise you all about considering loans, which can be available to support either your fees paid to Brown or your out-of-pocket expenses. And so they note that technically you cannot take loans out during the summer to support your global summer programs because you're not considered to be at the minimum half-time enrollment. That having been said, there is a helpful workaround, and that's that you can consider borrowing loans during the spring 2025 semester to support those summer 2025 costs. And so typically the deadline for applying for a loan during the spring is around 2 weeks prior to the end of the spring semester. Though you may consider moving that up a little bit in consultation with the Office of Financial Aid if there are certain, larger upfront costs, say the flight, that you might want to have the access to those funds earlier on. Again, if you have any interest in pursuing that, you want to learn more, the Office of Financial Aid is happy to work with you individually. So again, our hope is that we'll have convinced you that this is an extraordinary opportunity, that you want to make sure that you have the opportunity to take advantage of this summer. And so we want to talk a little bit now about eligibility, next steps, et cetera. So for eligibility, we've designed all of the Brown Global Summer programs in an effort to really make these as accessible to the broadest swath of the undergraduate population as possible. To that end, there are no prerequisites for this course. We welcome applications from undergraduate students of all class years, with the asterisk here being that for seniors, unfortunately, if you are due to graduate in May, you will not be eligible to participate in the program, as you'll no longer be an enrolled degree-seeking undergraduate student at that point in time. However, if you're a senior that has plans to graduate in fall 2025, then you would be eligible to participate. And lastly, here, this note on concentration. So undergraduate students from all concentrations are welcome and encouraged to apply, including students who are undeclared at this point in time. So, and that's an important distinction from the semester and the academic year programs, which do require you to have declared a concentration prior to participating. For these, no expectation or requirement that you have declared a major prior to participating. And in fact, we really love these as an opportunity for first-year students in particular, who maybe have not yet had an overseas learning experience. This is a terrific opportunity if you're considering semester or academic year study abroad later on, to sort of get your feet wet with a nice, really wonderful structured opportunity, and then get that travel bug and go and study abroad during your junior year. So again, welcome as many students to apply as possible. In addition, we have designed the application process to be as painless as possible. So it's a short background information form, and the bulk of the heavy lifting takes the form of 3 short response questions, which are just designed to sort of learn a little bit more about you and your interest in the program. Applications are reviewed on a rolling basis, so we encourage you to submit your applications as soon as possible. We've noted here some deadlines. So the first one is upcoming here this Saturday. This is the preferred application deadline. So any applications that we receive by this Saturday will receive first priority in the admissions process, though we will in principle be accepting applications all the way up through the final deadline of March 1st. Application links are available directly on the individual program page. If you're familiar with Brown Study Abroad application portal, you can also navigate to the application directly on there, searching either by term or by program name. Should you have any questions at any point throughout this process, you can consider me personally as your main point of contact. I can answer any and all questions, and if I don't personally have the answer, I'd be able to direct you to the right place. That brings us to the end of the formal part of the presentation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop recording, and then we'll open things up to an open-ended Q&A to hear any and all questions that you might have.